Hey folks, so beautiful day today again. Just sitting here, been thinking back about the one shoe on the side of the road. I don't know if you've ever encountered this, but it's common enough to find a shoe on the side of roads. And as a kid, my parents would drive to the cottage, for example, a fair bit, driving around, sitting in the back looking out the window. I started noticing I'd see this shoe on the side of the road. Always different shoes, a variety of things, but always one shoe. And it was the one shoe thing that bothered me, that I couldn't quite understand. Because look, if you're going to leave some shoes behind, you're going to leave a pair, not one. Because if you only have one, well, then you're sort of walking, like clip-clop, clip-clop, clip-clop. You'd notice, right? So how could you leave a shoe behind? And I would spend a fair amount of time trying to come up with an explanation of a situation that could warrant having one shoe left behind on the side of the road. I'd see children's shoes, little baby shoes even. I saw a baby shoe one time. There's a story too I have of a friend of mine who he was driving on the side of on the road, and he noticed on the side of the road there was a pair of red shoes. So he stopped, wondering who had left a pair of red shoes there. And he comes up to he opens up his trunk, the trunk at the back of his car, and he goes up to the shoes because he figures, I'm going to take this pair, maybe somebody could use them. And as he comes up to them, he notices that the two shoes are different shoes. They're not even the same pair, right? They're different shoes. And he can't understand why these two completely different red shoes ended up side by side on the side of the road. And but while he's standing there looking at this, a cop drives by, and the cop stops, wondering why this guy stopped on the side of the road. And first thing you know, the cop looks in the trunk, and there's an antique gun in the trunk, and my friend got in trouble for having this antique gun just because of this pair of shoes. A fake pair of shoes, no less. So it's always been this very weird question, and I've done a bit of research, and I discovered some interesting things. There's a lot of people who have noticed it, and I spent some time thinking about references even. And I did find a reference, I don't know how many of you will remember this, but a reference to one shoe on the side of the road, and in a movie. And there is a movie called The Man with One Red Shoe, I believe. But there's also The Life of Brian. That's a Monty Python movie, their best in my opinion. But there is a scene in there where the guy, the protagonist of the story, has been in trying to escape from the Romans, and he pretended to be some type of a foreteller, some type of a psychic, or something like that. He was standing by the side of the road and talking, and people were listening to him, and he wasn't really focused on what he was talking about. He was looking at the Romans who were going by, the patrol, and he's like this, and he just lost track of what he was talking about, and one of the persons down there listening to him is wondering what he was talking about. And he says, no, nothing. And he just jumps down. The Romans are gone. He can get away. So he starts walking away. And everybody's curious about what he had to say. And he's got nothing to say. But they all want to find out what he's got to say. So they're all chasing him. And first thing you know, He's running away from them because they're chasing him, and they're chasing him because he's running away. So first thing you know, he ends up outside of the city, Jerusalem, I believe, and he's running, and as he's running, his sandal falls off, and he sees the sandal there. He wants to go back and get it, but that crowd is coming, and it's going to catch up. So he has to take off. He has to keep going, and the whole crowd arrives onto the sandal, and at which point, immediately they start factioning off. One person says, we need to walk with one sandal only. And another one says, no, it means we need to hold a sandal on a stick, up in the air. And they're fractioning off, or whatever into their separate groups already. Anyway, so that's the scene I remember from Life of Brian about the one shoe. And I thought that might have been the origin of the first shoe on the side of the road, you know. Granted, it's fiction. But I do have a story that relates to me specifically about the one shoe. An explanation of sorts. So one day, my parents were driving us back from the cottage. And we had arrived, we were driving through Wakefield. And going back towards Ottawa. And there's some guy behind us following us like everything, and he's honking. And so Dad pulls over to the side of the road, and we come out of the car, and this guy comes out of his car, and he's laughing. And he points at the roof of our car, and he says, "You've got a shoe on your car." And sure enough, there was one shoe on top of the car. And my mom remembers that she had a pair of shoes that she was using to when she'd go in the Gatineau River for a swim. It was muddy where she was swimming, and so she put the shoes on so she didn't want to feel the algae and all the stuff there. So those shoes, when she had come to the car, we were leaving the cottage, and she had put the two shoes on top of the car while she was looking in there taking care of something, and she had forgotten them on the top of the car. And in that distance between the cottage and Wakefield, one of those shoes had fallen off the roof of the car. And we finally had our very own explanation or I had my own explanation for the one shoe on the side of the road. And I think that that's quite satisfactory to have at least an explanation. Does it happen like that for every shoe on the side of the road? Hard to believe. It's quite hard to believe. There sure are a lot of shoes on the side of the road. And, you know, there's not a preponderance of other things on the side of the road, too. That's the question. You know, it's not like there's axes and wood and all sorts of things that you could notice. I would know. I'd be looking and, look, there's shoes and there's socks and there's clothes and whatever it is that you could see. But it's just the shoes that are constant. In looking, I had found that on YouTube there was a song about the one shoe on the side of the road. Somebody had written a song about it. So I'm not the only one who's noticed it. There's a prevalent community out there concerned about these shoes on the side of the road. Anyway, with this mystery somewhat solved, but I'm going to leave you for today, and thank you for coming in and checking in on one of my memories. And we'll talk to you again soon. See you later.